So often when people exercise, they focus on trying to achieve a goal from their workouts, whether it's losing weight, whether it's running faster or being able to run farther, or being able to do more push-ups or lift more weight than they have before. While these goals can keep you motivated, there's also a high likelihood that they actually make you less healthy. So on today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, this is exactly what Julie and I will be discussing and how you can go about changing up your workouts in order to make sure that you actually stay healthy while you still try to hit your workout goals. We're going to cue the intro song and then we're going to dive right into this conversation. Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we're talking about exercise, health, and the interconnectedness of the two. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we will be coming to you every single week from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Charlie. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to let you know that we recently released a book called The Exercise for Life Method. And if you enjoy the conversations that we have every single week on this podcast, then you are going to love this book. So to pick up a free copy of this book, all you have to do is go to exerciseforlifemethod.com. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health podcast. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we're coming to you from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, here in Schaumburg, Illinois, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset, and the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise. Specifically, exercise is geared towards building the health and function of your muscles. For the Exercise is Health podcast, this is episode 210, and we are so grateful for each and every one of you who have listened to all 210, or this may be the first one of the 210 that you've listened to. And some of you in particular have actually taken the time to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And for that, we truly say thank you. We want to take a second right now to read a review that was recently left for the Exercise is Health podcast.
This review actually came from a fitness professional. It says, Julie and Charlie do an outstanding job of breaking down and explaining the benefits, the how-to, and the why behind exercise. It is a must listen if you want to improve your health or if you're a professional in the fitness industry looking to improve your skills. Thank you so much for that review, and we're so happy that we've brought value to not only your life, but also to your profession, because you are a colleague of ours.
Right on. So as you listen to this episode, if you would like to leave a rating and review, all you need to do is within the Apple Podcast app, scroll down, make sure to hit the 5 stars and type out a review for us, and we are so very grateful when you do that. So today we are talking about goals, because a lot of times people will start to exercise right now, with their New Year's resolutions. And that is often how they can kind of term a goal for this time of year. It'll be like, okay, well, I'm working out 3 times a week, meaning like my New Year's resolution is to work out 3 times a week. And so my goal, in other words, is to work out 3 times a week, right? So we can talk about goals in that way, but the reality is a lot of times when people set goals with their workouts, it ends up actually sacrificing the health and function of their body as they pursue those goals. And to us, this is a really big issue. So the question is, regardless of what goals you have right now with your exercise, how do you go about staying healthy while you are in pursuit of those goals?
Now, we know there are some new listeners here because it is the new year officially. So I want to first talk about some really common New Year's resolutions / goals that people have around this time of year, a lot of which Charlie and I call external goals. Things like losing weight. I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to train for a 5K or this race, or I want to build this amount of mass. Maybe you're in muscle building. Those are all external goals. And the way that you know if a goal is external is if the goal is somewhere outside of yourself. For example, if your goal is to run a 5K, the goal is for you to do this thing with your body that is to accomplish something that's outside of your body, right? Or if you're trying to lose weight, the goal is to get that number on the scale to go down.
Now, you might be listening to that and thinking, well, what do you mean like losing weight is outside of my body? The weight is from inside of my body that's being lost. So what do you mean by that? Well, we put that in the external goal category, yes, because the reading of the weight is outside of your body, but also because the focus of what people end up doing usually is very much outside of their body. And we'll be talking about that throughout this podcast. If that kind of is a head scratcher for you right now, sit back. We're going to explain that more. Just understand that the idea of losing weight, even though the weight is coming from inside of your body, having the goal of losing weight is something that we classify as an external goal because of the means that are typically used in order to try to accomplish that goal.
Absolutely. Thanks for that clarification. So we want to now channel you to how do we set goals that improve our internal. And Charlie and I really value the internal because improving the health and function of your body is what we believe to be the main goal of exercise. And we believe this so much that we know that it's the main goal of exercise. Otherwise, we would call it sports, which the main goal of sports is something external, right? Like get the basket in, beat the other team. So we want to start channeling internal goals. And when we think about having internal body goals, the whole thing that exercise does for you is it has the opportunity to improve the health and function of your body. So whenever we use exercise for a goal that is not improve the health and function of your body, we label it as an external goal. Because we're not saying that if you are overweight, that losing weight wouldn't be healthy. It would be healthy for you to lose weight. But that can't be the goal of exercise. Because what happens then is when you show up to your exercise session, and remember, the goal of exercise needs to be to improve the health and function of your body, but you show up to your exercise session to lose weight or to build mass or to get better at your 5K, then you start compromising the health and function of your body to achieve that external goal.
Yeah, that's such a key distinguisher. And especially right now, again, as people might be starting up to exercise more than they have over the last 8 weeks, this is really important to keep in mind, okay? We're not saying don't have goals. We think having goals can be a really big driver to success, both, over the short term and over the longer term. Absolutely. I mean, I know one of my goals with exercise is to be able to stay healthy for a really long time. But the question is, what goals are you having? And are those goals sacrificing your health either in the short term or in the long term or both? And are those goals making you less able to exercise in some manner? Likely through sacrificing your health. So what might this look like? This might look like somebody who's really focused on trying to prepare their body for a spring marathon. And so they are putting in the miles on the treadmill. They are trying to switch up the training. So they might do some biking. They might do some swimming just to keep their cardiovascular fitness up without all the pounding. But really their main focus is getting their distance up, and they don't realize that they're starting to get this weird kind of tightness in their feet that eventually turns into plantar fasciitis. And so that ultimately limits them from running their marathon, which was the whole goal to begin with, right? So we want to talk about this because, there are different ways of approaching your goals where your health is actually at the forefront of achieving your goals. And because of that, it is the fuel that allows you to achieve your goals, as opposed to thinking like, well, if I'm just focused on getting healthier, I'm not going to be able to lose weight. Or if I'm just focused on getting healthier, I'm not going to be able to build muscle. Or if I'm just focused on getting healthier, I'm not going to be able to run farther or run faster. In fact, if you focus on getting healthier and that is your primary goal, all those other goals become much easier to accomplish.
So I'm giggling because I was just thinking of an analogy, and then I thought about sharing the analogy, and it's a good one. Okay, so I'm going to pick up where Charlie left off, where he's saying, okay, well, if my goal is to lose weight or put on mass or train for a 5K, why shouldn't that be my goal like when I'm in the gym? It seems like if it's not my goal, then wouldn't it be less efficient? but you got to use your workout for what it's good for, which the workouts are the best at improving the health and function of your body. Okay, so you guys remember last year where like there was a pandemic and we're all at home. Anyways, Charlie and I... Vaguely. It's a long time ago. Anyways, Charlie and I were really committed to exercising while we were at home. It's actually how we created our at-home workout program. So anyways, on the last day that we could have our business opened, Charlie came here and literally loaded up his car with the weights and the bands. And so we had our whole thing except our machines at home. And so there were so many days that we would be working out. And let me ask you this, Charlie, what is a car really good at?
Transporting people and things.
Yeah, from point A to B, like taking you places, right? So one day I walk out of our house and Charlie was doing a workout with bands and he was using his car. He backed it out of the garage and he was using it for different points on there for bands. And I don't know if I timed it perfectly, but like I walked out and one like snapped on him because he was using his car for like a fixed point. And the point that he picked wasn't quite as fixed as he thought. And I was like, oh, that like must have not been great. But the problem was that the car could be used as like a fixed point for his bands, but that's not like what a car is made to do. Like you shouldn't expect that, you know, this car is going to be an amazing band anchor because it's not what it's created to do. It's kind of like what we do with our workouts. It's like, I'd like to lose weight, so I'm going to use workouts to lose weight. And although social media and, you know, the news and what you see in magazines chalk it up to be like a great vehicle for losing weight, exercise is still true to its core, where it's still really good at improving your health and function. And so if we keep using exercise to improve your health and function, that's going to be your best long-term bet to use your workouts to help you lose weight. Versus if you want to lose weight, a lot of people will then step into the gym and say, okay, it's all about the calorie burn. Got to get the volume. I got to get the time in. We got to just do some stuff. And that's where the problem becomes. If you want to build muscle mass, you still have to use exercise to help improve the health and function of your body. And no matter what your goal is, use exercise to do what it's good at. Don't use exercise to abuse what it's good at, because otherwise it's not as good at what it's good at.
Right, exactly. So how should we go about kind of structuring this, right? Because we still encourage you to have goals. So let's say your goal is by the end of March to drop 10 pounds. All right. Cool. That may be a stretch for you. That may be perfectly reasonable for you. I don't know where you fall on that spectrum. That's not the point. The point is you have this goal that means something to you. You truly want this to happen, and you are willing to put in the time and effort in order to make this happen. Awesome. So that is kind of your bigger goal, right? Is like your bigger goal is to lose the 10 pounds. Well, the challenge that a lot of people run into is that bigger goal also becomes their day-to-day goal. Also becomes, okay, what do I need to do today in order to lose 10 pounds? What do I need to do today in order to lose 10 pounds? How many calories do I need to eat? How many calories do I need to burn? How can I use my body in order to help me burn the calories so I can lose the 10 pounds? And so when you take your bigger goal and you shrink it down and have that be your day-to-day goal, that's when we start running into issues. Because when your day-to-day goals become more external like that, that's when they can start to compile on each other and compound. And that's when bigger issues start to show themselves later down the road. So instead of thinking, okay, today I need to do what I need to do in order to lose 10 pounds. Like it's, today is the day that's going to set me up to lose the 10 pounds. Like, no. Today is the day where you're doing something to stimulate the health of your body. Okay. And then by getting your body healthier, that will get you to your 10-pound weight loss. Now, there are different strategies and different tactics you may employ along the way as far as like how you're going about working out and what you're doing with your nutrition and everything like that. And that's perfectly fine. But you have to keep the focus of today very much as an internal thing. And then that will allow you to then come back and do it again tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. And when you compound those internal days one after another, that's when you have a much better opportunity to actually reach your external goals.
Charlie, I love that point. It's like you got to have the micro goals, which are different than the macro goal. And when you follow through with the micro goals, like what am I doing in this workout? What am I going to do today? Then it will look very different than the main goal. I think you do a good job of highlighting this in your fitness journey in the last years of getting old, Charlie, where you work out in a way that is very respectful of your body, and every once in a while you kind of set this big goal, and it's an external goal, and you do a check-in and things like, what is it? You like killed your 5K time from college and now you're an old guy. You don't even run anymore, really, except for the occasional for cardiovascular health. Whereas in college you were running all the time, like your main goal of running a 5K then looked like the micro goals. Like, I want to run a 5K, so let me run all the time. Now you're like, I don't know, maybe I should check in and do a 5K. But all this time you've been building the health and function of your body. So your body was prepared to do something like that. Or another cool one that's very external is, as you guys probably know, Charlie used to play basketball. So every once in a while he does a little check-in, make sure he can still dunk the basketball, which I think is so fun. But he never practices dunking the basketball. He's built that skill, but now he just keeps training the health and function of his body, which looks very different than dunking a basketball. Whereas before, when you didn't have this mindset, you probably practiced dunking basketballs a whole bunch of times. So you got to be thinking about, what am I going to do today to help me get to my big goal, which is going to look a lot different. Now, when you have these larger external goals, there's more than just the exercise that promotes that, right? So if you're thinking weight loss, you probably know there are other avenues of health that you need to start addressing that is not exercise. But when it comes to the exercise piece of this puzzle, you need to make sure that the exercise goal stays focused on improving the health and function of your body. One way that you know that you're doing that is if after your workout, your body feels good. Your body feels energized. And I want to clarify that it's not just an emotional, mental good. So many people use exercise as, this is my stress relief. I always feel better after. The endorphins make me feel good. The good I'm talking about is your physicalness. So do a body check-in. When you leave your workout, how does your body feel and function and move? Are your joints feeling better? Are they feeling more mobile? How do your muscles feel? Does it feel like you've pulled some of them? Like, do they feel like they're talking to you in a negative way? Or does it feel like, oh wow, they feel more alive. They feel more ready to go. What's very common in the gym world is that it is told that you should leave your workout feeling mentally and emotionally good and physically pretty shot. Like, oh, I need a rest after this, or I'm going to be so sore the next day. So we have to bring that physical piece to the expectations that we have for our mental piece. Your physical body should be feeling better when you leave your workouts. That's one sign that you are exercising to improve the health and function of your body.
Yeah, it's a huge point, because a lot of people after the workouts, ask me like, how are you doing? They'll be like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm going to feel it tomorrow, but I'm doing great. It's like, no, there shouldn't be the, I'm going to feel it tomorrow. What we would aim for is, I'm feeling great and I could do it again tomorrow. Like, that's the place where we want to be. Not like, oh yeah, I'm feeling great right now because I have all this huge spike in hormones and all these neurotransmitters are going wild and I'm just feeling awesome. But I know, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to feel horrible. Like that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is like, yeah, I got this great spike in hormones and all these neurotransmitters are going wild. I'm feeling great. And I could come back and I could do this again tomorrow because I know when I wake up in the morning, I'm still going to feel great. In fact, I'm going to feel better than I do right now because I'm going to feel stronger. I'm going to feel more connected to my body. And so that's what we're looking for, okay? And so again, not sacrificing the health and function of your body in order to try to get those external goals, but instead build the health and function of your body in order to get to those external goals. So I think that is the first big point that we need to hammer home is, at the end of your workout, you should feel like, yeah, I could come back and I could do this again tomorrow. Maybe not the exact same workout, maybe not with the exact same intensity. Okay, we all have to fluctuate intensities. Some days we're going to need recovery days, but You shouldn't be leaving your workouts thinking, oh, I'm just not going to feel well tomorrow. Tomorrow's definitely an off day. We want to avoid that at all costs. So you should be leaving your workout thinking, okay, yeah, I can come back and I can do this again tomorrow. And I think one of the easiest ways to be able to do that is while you're working out, mentally check in throughout your workout and ask yourself, could I come back and do this again tomorrow? This meaning exercise. Could I come back and exercise again tomorrow? And if at any point that answer starts to approach a no, that's when you say, no, I'm done for today. Because I want to make sure that answer always remains a yes. And so if you have that in mind while you're doing your workout, it's going to make the decisions about like what to do with your workouts a lot easier.
So we're kind of talking about, when you leave your workout, you're feeling good. And that's like the immediate after your workout, but also the delayed after your workout the following day, which leads us into our next really good point where it's your workouts need to be consistent. Consistency is arguably the most potent piece that makes exercise promotional of your health, is that you have to show up. You have to do it. So doing these kick butt workouts twice a week, it's not enough. You have to be repeating more than every 3 days, 4 days. There has to be this repetition. So when you were thinking about goal setting, think about how am I going to get myself to show up for this, exercise bout, whether that's at a gym, whether it's at your house, whether that's on your street, you do it outside, whatever. How am I going to get myself to show up for this? And I was actually just thinking about this weekend. A really great time to plan your next workout is right when you finish your last workout. Because when do you feel the best?
Right when you finish your last one.
Yep. You're feeling great. You're currently living in the state of exercise making you feel good mentally and emotionally. So that's when you should set, if you haven't already preset all your workouts, that's when you should set when you're going to work out next. So let's say you are still working from home, you and your spouse, you're busy as all get up. I get it. But you're feeling great. You just finished a run. You just finished a cycle. You just finished lifting weights. You're feeling great. And you're like, wow, I'm really busy tomorrow. But let me tell my husband when I'm going to work out so he knows to take care of the kids. Let me structure my work schedule tomorrow, if you're flexible, so that I can make sure I get my workout in. That's a great time to plan for that consistency because it has to be consistent, especially if you are an event scheduler, which means that you plan for your workouts after certain events versus a time scheduler, which is like I work out at 5 a.m. every day. So try that out. So get that consistency in. That is a great way to promote your health with exercise, is that repeated exposure every single day.
Yeah, I love that tip because, again, it removes then the decision of, well, am I going to exercise today? It's like you already planned it the day before. You already put it in your calendar. You already know what you're going to do. You don't have to make that decision anymore. And the thing that I've seen time and time again over the last decade plus now is decisions equal friction. Decisions equal friction. The more decisions you have to make, the more friction there is preventing you from actually doing the thing that you want to do. So the fewer decisions you have to make, then the more you're able to just get to doing the exercise thing. So if while you're already in that good feeling state right after you work out, you plan what you're going to do, when you're going to do it for the next day, now you've just removed the decision of, well, am I going to exercise today? Yes or no? Well, you already answered yes. Well, what should I do? Well, you already figured that out. Well, when should I do? You already have all those decisions made. Now, when you wake up the next day, all you have to do is get to the actual exercise part. And then there's far less friction in that scenario than there is if you wake up in the morning like, do I want to exercise today? Look, very rarely do people wake up and they're like, oh yeah, I want to exercise today. It happens. It certainly happens. But I know even for myself, I go downstairs in the morning and it's like if I'm sitting and I'm drinking coffee and I'm reading or I'm working on my computer, it's like, oh, do I really want to get on the cycle bike right now? And if I'm being honest with myself, most mornings it's no, I don't want to. But I already made the decision that I'm going to. So it's like, okay, fine. I made this decision. So now I'm going to go do it. All right. The more decisions you have to make, if I had to decide in that moment whether or not I wanted to, well, then that's just another hurdle to have to overcome. And honestly, I would probably default to saying, well, no, I don't want to. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it later in the week or whatever. So make the decision the day before while you're already feeling good with it, while you have just succeeded in finishing a workout and you're feeling healthy, feeling strong. That will be the optimal time to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So pre-planning that stuff is so important because, like Charlie said, decisions create friction. And guess what? When you say yes to your health and yes to your goals, you have to say no to other stuff. But practicing that skill of saying no to other stuff is so important because your goals and your health are very important. And I have to commend Charlie. Something you guys, maybe you know about him or not, but we're about to go into his personal life a little bit here. But anyways, if you know, we have 2 kids, and when we had just our first kid, she would sleep until 7:30 in the morning.
It was unheard of, but amazing.
It was awesome. And so Charlie used to get up at sometime between 4 and 5 and, start getting his morning stuff done. He loved that time because the house is dead quiet because I'm not a morning person. And then he would cycle and he'd have all this time to make his coffee, get a whole bunch of work done, the whole thing until 7 o'clock when our daughter would get up. And then, I would probably get her first. So he's not really ready for child action until a little later. And then we have our son that now it's like Charlie's got to wake up at 2 a.m. to get anything done before he wakes up. So literally his time went from, I don't know, somewhere between 2 to 4 hours of solo time in the morning to a questionable hour to 2 hours for sure. And if he's getting on the cycle bike, that means he has to say no to some of his personal stuff or getting ahead with his work that he needs to get done or his meditation or prepping the coffee. And so he has to choose, well, what do I have to say no to now because my health matters? And getting on this bike, even though I don't want to, and I'd rather, be under this nice warm blanket, especially here in Chicago, it's freaking cold. And so it's nice to, just be snuggly in blankets. So anyways, remember that you have to say no to some stuff to say yes to your health, and it's okay to do that. So sign up for your next workout while you're still feeling good from the last workout. That's exactly how they get people on cruises. When you're on your cruise and you're feeling amazing, you're like, I love cruising. This is my first cruise, but I'm now in the cruise culture. They're like, sign up for your next cruise and get like a little discount. That's how they get it. Do that with your workouts. Get yourself mentally signed up for your next workout. Plan it, make the decision so that there's no friction, just like the cruises. You don't want to ask for their credit card later. Do it right now while they're into the vacation, while they're cruising right now.
Now, the last point that we want to bring up is what to do like within your workouts. And this was already brought up, but it was kind of brought up as an add-on. It really deserves its own point within this conversation. And that is, while you're exercising, continuously check in with your body, asking yourself the question, can I come back and do this again tomorrow? That really is the key question across the board when you are exercising. Can I come back and do this again tomorrow? And there's a bunch of ways that you can respond to that, right? It seems like it would be like directly yes or no, but there are different versions of yes. It can be like, yes, and you can push harder, or like, yes, but stay the same. You're like, yes, but only if you slow down. And it's like, or no, you can't, right? So like there are multiple variations. And so asking yourself that question and understanding if you're a yes, where you are in the yes range, and then changing your actions accordingly. That is a huge piece to being able to not only come back and exercise consistently, but making sure that every workout leans you towards building the health and function of your body, which ultimately is going to propel you to hitting the more external goals that you have set for yourself.
Now, Charlie, there's like a handful of more technical things we could insert here to do during your workouts. We're going to save that for another episode. We've also talked about it in previous episodes, but I do really love that general idea where it's like, hey, could I return to this tomorrow if I wanted to? I want to give you guys an example of this that happened to me. This is real and raw, people. Okay, so one point in my life, I thought it would be a great idea to like run a half marathon. I have no idea why I wanted to do it, but I did it, and I convinced my sister and my brother to do it with me. Anyways, if you guys have understood what external goals are, you can see that running a half marathon is an external goal because the goal is to accomplish the half marathon. But to do the half marathon, you have to do this exercise called running, right? So here I am running my half marathon. I had been running for a long time, whatever. I didn't really train hardcore for this, but here I am running, doing an exercise to achieve an external goal. And about halfway through, my left hip flexor started really bothering me. And so if I was running to promote the health and function of my body, I would probably start feeling that hip flexor, and I'd probably keep going just a little longer just to see, oh, is that just like a little twang that came up, or is it going to go away? Anyways, it got worse and worse and worse, and then my whole left quad is tightening up. But here I am running a half marathon, which again, the goal is to cross the finish line. So I keep going, and I actually create really clever techniques to keep making gains on all the other runners. And I have finished the half marathon in a really good time. I've talked to marathoners. I'm I don't know, I just finished in this time. They're like, what? You never even trained for that? I was I don't know, I just did it. So anyways, it was even kind of celebrated. Cool, you did a really good time, Julie. But if I was doing this to exercise to promote the health and function of my body, that left hip flexor, left quad thing, I struggled with that for probably about 2 or 3 years after. And no, it wasn't an injury that I couldn't work with, but it was something I felt when I worked out or when I ran every time after that. And after that half marathon, do you think I could go back and do that again? Absolutely not. I don't ever have interest, and I had to take multiple days off after that. So if I was running, doing an exercise called running, and I started feeling a left hip flexor issue, for health and function reasons, I should have stopped because I was compromising the health and function of this muscle, of this joint, of this area of my body to accomplish an external goal. And that made it so that I could not go back and exercise and receive the health benefits the following, probably for a whole week, I didn't work out because it felt really bad. By the way, my body was really depleted. So when you're working out, always checking in. Am I finishing this workout right now because the instructor is really convincing and motivating and I'm doing it because it's exciting? Or is my body saying, yes, you can still do it. Yes, it feels okay. Yes, you're good. Always check in and make sure that that is happening. Are you continuing to do this workout because you feel like you should get to 1 mile on the treadmill? If your body's saying no, just stop. There's plenty of other options in the gym to do. Make sure that you're doing it and you're not compromising your body.
So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is really set on hitting some exciting goals with their workouts, but you might be a little bit concerned about them that they are actually sacrificing their health in pursuit of those goals? Share this episode with them so they can learn about some strategies to use during their workouts in order to make sure that their health is being promoted while they are striving towards their workout goals. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find this episode when they are looking for information on exercise and when they are looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with y'all next week. So how'd you like that episode? Did you find the information useful? If you enjoyed what we discussed today, then you are going to love the Exercise for Life Method, which is a book that we just put out and you can get a free copy of by going to exerciseforlifemethod.com. All we ask is that you pay for shipping and handling, so head there now and get your free copy, as well as some exclusive bonuses that you will get instant access to when you get the book. You can learn more and get your copy at exerciseforlifemethod.com. This podcast podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Cates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.